Hey everybody, welcome to my show, Building a Castle from Sticks and Stones, Season 1. Today's episode 1, Someone Like You, okay? I'm gonna start off by saying, right, whoever came up with that saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, yeah. Is it just me or were they probably narcissistic when they said that? Because sticks and stones definitely do break bones, but words definitely can and do hurt. They can have an impact in ways that, someone saying something behind your back, or in any case, right? Words hurt. But so we're going to take all the sticks and stones life has thrown at us, right? And let's build a castle out of them. I like to use a lot of like analogies and comparisons, so it's easier for me to like say what I want to say or communicate my message I'm trying to get across. Okay, so this is my first podcast, so bear with me as I try to like get this whole thing down, but my friends convinced me to start a podcast. So basically, right, building a castle from sticks and stones, right? Life definitely throws sticks and stones at us, right? If you've ever had a car stolen, you've ever like suffered a lot of loss or things like that, you know what I mean? That is life throwing sticks and stones. And if we are not prepared and ready for that, the impact is pretty bad. So, but if we build a castle, then let's just gather up all those sticks and stones life has thrown at us and build a castle out of them. That way, the next time sticks and stones come flying at us, we'll have a castle to defend us. But okay, so today we're talking about someone like you, because throughout my lifetime, I have heard that many times. People say, "Oh, what does someone like you know?" or "you and your peoples," or and I just look at them, and at first I used to get offended, right? And look at them like, "Someone like me? Really?" But you know what? One thing I am not is I did not go to school to study human behavior, right? So I'm not a psychologist and I'm not a psychiatrist, and it's not for me to decide why people do what they do. That's not my job. So, I have a lot of respect for those people that went to school, went to college, spent their whole career studying human behavior, and that's just not me. That's not what I do. So, when I'm interacting with people, right? I just look at them and say, whenever I hear someone like you, I just look at them and go, okay, let's make an observation here without being judgmental, right? So obviously, someone like them does not know anything about someone like me. Just who is someone like me, right? So let's get the introductions out the way. I figured that'd be the best way to start my first episode. Someone like me, okay? First of all, yep, I'm gonna say it. I'm a crack baby. Yep, a crack baby. I was born in 1989 out of Long Beach, California. And, yep, parents were crack addicts. That's what it is. I was adopted, right? And so you'll hear me refer to my biological mom. Her name is Ernette, right? And then you'll hear me talk about my adopted mom. I just call her mom. So my adopted mom and Ernette met because my mom was working at a homeless shelter and she would like give out food and stuff, and that's how she met Ernette. And Ernette was pregnant with me and very, very, schizophrenic, right? Totally freaking not in touch with reality. I actually met her when I was 18 years old for the first time, but I'll talk about that later. But so when Ernette was ready to give birth to me, doctors obviously were not going to send me home with her, so they called my mom, and she was willing to take me in. So I have no relation to, like, blood relation to her, but nonetheless, she became a foster parent and to raise me. So after she adopted me, she adopted 3 more. So that's a little about my starting point. And my mom had 3 kids of her own that were grown and out of the house with their own kids when she took me in and adopted me. And, being adopted for me, like, I didn't really view myself as any different. I pretty much grew up knowing that I was adopted, that, my sisters and my brother that were adopted, we pretty much knew what it was that, we had families that couldn't take care of us. And so, it is what it is, right? But my mom, heart of gold, love that lady. She's actually 83. But unfortunately, she was married to a pervert, right? Who couldn't keep his hands off of children, and he was placed in prison in 2004. And that's a little bit about my history. And then from there, I was kind of a wild teenager, right? So my mom put me in therapy at a young age, which I think did help, but it was because, I was talking to people on AOL. If anyone remembers AIM, right? AOL Instant Messenger. Had a profile and everything. I was young, but, I was just having fun, I guess. But it was obvious I had problems. Got into drugs, all that stuff, right? Boo hoo, I got a sob story. But, hey, I got pregnant at 17 and I decided to sober up. And I sobered up throughout my whole pregnancy. And, but it wasn't long before, after my son was born, he had to have surgery. So I kind of got back onto drugs and alcohol and stuff. But I decided to go to rehab, and it was actually the best decision I ever made. I went to rehab in Long Beach, where that's kind of where my life changed, right? I met Ernette, my real mom, for the first time ever. And she seemed normal at first, but it didn't take long for me to figure out, oh, okay, yeah, she's got problems. So I thought it was kind of cool that my mom, knowing what, where I came from and what my kind of family history was like on my biological side, that she was still willing to take me in. So after I met my real mom, I did call my mom and tell her, hey, that I was grateful for her adopting me. And I may not have agreed with all the decisions my mom has made, but she probably hasn't agreed with all the decisions I've made either in my life. But, I guess we both had a bad picker. But, after my dad went to prison, right? So it was definitely weird, like, in therapy and stuff, we had to talk about it, and I guess it kind of helped. But anyway, so I went to rehab and everything, and I was sober for 8 years. I was doing well, but got into a bad relationship, and you know how those go. I lost everything. I had a career. I had a career as a massage therapist in a doctor's office, and I was happy, but unfortunately, I had someone in my life that anything that made me happy made them sick. And it wasn't long before I literally lost everything. My apartment, my car, my career. I had to move in with my adopted parents, which I didn't want to do because my adopted brother and I, we don't really get along. And my dad was back living with the family, and my son and I, we had to go stay there after I lost my apartment. Well, I ended up, my brother and I were in an altercation, and my dad stepped in and put his hands on me, and I didn't appreciate that, and I definitely made it known, and I shoved him off of me. And he called the police saying that I was out of control, and I went to jail. So with that charge, I lost my career. And after that, I became homeless. So that's just scratching the surface about someone like me. Yeah, so that's someone like me. And so let's go ahead. I didn't really do a formal introduction. You'll have to excuse me. I'm so rude sometimes. But they call me Statik. Yep, I got the name Statik while in the 2700 module in Linwood. For anybody who does not know what that is the anger management module in the county jail for women. I got the name Statik because I was always doing something. This girl gave me that name, and it stuck. The Spanish translation for static, which is how electricity moves through things. Because I was always coming up with something. She was like, damn, girl, you're crazy. You're always coming up with something. I had pink shoes. I took the ink off of the milk carton. I had pink and purple shoes, and I had all the girls in the module give me all the little brown, core of the toilet paper, right? And I used all those little brown things inside the toilet paper, and I used them as curlers in my hair. And I had 37 of them in my hair. One night, the deputy passed by when she was doing a count, and she looked at me and she goes, oh my God, I cannot even get you for contraband because I've never seen anything like that in my life. And she just kept walking, and she was just shaking her head and laughing. So I was grateful to get out of jail when I finally got out. Oh, because I couldn't have cigarettes for 4 months. But anyway, so they call me Statik. And I'm recording from the 661 area code. So that is someone like me. And basically the message I want to get across right now is if you ever feel like you're being judged, or if you ever feel like people are, making assumptions about you, that's okay. Let them make assumptions, People are who they are, and there's nothing we can do about that. And they were who they were before we met them. And they'll probably still be who they are when, in passing. So don't ever get offended. Don't try not to take things personally. And I know it's easier said than done, but like I said, I'm not a psychologist, right? And a psychiatrist. And if you don't have a psychology degree, you probably shouldn't be making judgments either, right? Because who are we really to be making judgments about others when we probably don't know what we're talking about anyway? It's very difficult when you have, when you're in school, you have other students that they just rub you the wrong way, or it's really hard to focus, or at work, we don't always get along with our coworkers, and they make assumptions. Maybe we make assumptions ourselves. But the point I want to get across is that for a starting point in life, it's best not to make those assumptions about people, and it's best that whatever assumptions they make about us, let our actions speak louder than words, and people can see for themselves who we really are. If we have the right intentions and our heart is in the right place, you can't really go wrong with that. I really believe that. Although it is true, they say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That might be true. But, just always check your motives, and, remember when you're interacting with people, remember just the same as we have the right to be entitled to our opinion, no matter what it may be, other people have the same right. And it's best that, in order to make a stronger version of ourselves, it is best to not be distracted by things that other people say, or get caught up in things that other people do. We have better things to worry about, right? Like for me, when people start talking about me, or I hear people, oh, this person said this about you. Okay, I have better things to do, like watch paint dry. Okay. I pay very little mind to people like that, especially those ones that like to tell you what you're doing wrong, but they're doing the same thing. I just don't pay no mind to that. I just don't. It's best people like that, just let them go about their ways, right? The only thing we can control is ourselves, right? And when our lives feel out of control, we try to look for things we can control. That's natural, but the things we can control should be within ourselves, not others. Oh, so gonna wrap it up for my first episode of Building a Castle from Sticks and Stones. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and you'll hear back from me soon.